Senator
for your
Angara,
patience,
Senator
Mr. Chair.
Osmena. And then
Yes,
we
just
will
to
allow
clarify.
Senator Angara to finish his questioning. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny. Just to get things clear, we have a representative here from the BIR, no? All right. So get the rules straight. Halimbawa po, nakatanggap ako ng bayad pero in kind, hindi in cash. At binigyan po ako ng Rolex watch. Do I have to declare that as income?
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Any income that
No, just answer yes or no.
Yes,
Do I-
yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Halimbawa po, binigyan po ako ng lupa in return for a service that I extended. Do I have to declare the land as income?
yes, Your Honor.
Hindi po ako pwede mag-antay na hindi ko pa binebenta yung lupa eh. Di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that must be valued at the time that the transfer was made, and I have to declare that regardless of whether if it was cash or not. I'll have to find the money to pay the taxes, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ayun po dito sa pagbili ng shares ni Mr. Oreta, 8.9 million more or less shares. It was transferred to Mr. Oreta at 10 pesos. But the transfer price is irrelevant, di ba? Because the shares were trading at an average between 44 to 73 pesos per share in the stock exchange.
Yes, Your Honors.
Halimbawa, 60 pesos lang. That brings us to a value of 534 million pesos. That was the value of the shares that were transferred to Noble Care, was it? To Noble Care. So, hindi pwede sabihin ng Noble Care, ay, hindi ko pa binibenta eh. In other words, Noble Care should have reported the 534 million, gawin na natin 500 million as income.
Yes, Your Honor.
And pay the taxes
Yes,
thereon
they should
in
have
that year.
declared
Diba?
that already. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Oreta, earlier I heard you argue that you had not yet sold the shares
Yes, sir.
and that you do not owe income thereon.
Yes, sir.
Suppose I gave you 100,000 shares of Meralco. How much is Meralco today? 270. Or 1 million shares of Meralco worth 270 million pesos because you did a service for me. Can you now claim that you don't have to declare that as income until you sell the Meralco shares?
To my mind, unless I sell,
Yes, Mr.
the Meralco
Oreta, you're
shares.
wrong, and I think you know you're wrong. But anyway, we'll let the BIR take care of that particular problem. But in any case, I have another question related to that. When Alphaland issued shares at 10 pesos a share while it was trading at 60 pesos, would that not be a violation of its fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders? Mr. Ongpin, perhaps
I'm
you
not
can
gonna-
respond.
No, Mr. Senator, it would not be. In fact, the numbers that being bandied around here are simply incorrect. Those trading values were several years ago. At the time that we were suspended for trading, Alphaland shares were, as a matter of fact, trading at 17 pesos 50 centavos, not nowhere near 60. I wish they were, but they were not.
All
Now,
right.
today we are not listed. And we have just released our audited financial statements. The net book value per share of Alphaland is 24.60, 24 pesos 60. And at the time that those shares were issued by the corporation to Mr. Oreta, there were many transactions that were undertaken by Alphaland at 10 pesos.
Allow me to interrupt you, Mr. Ongpin, because I just asked a simple question. Now, you're saying that the value today is 24 pesos. When you were last traded, it was 16 pesos. That is not
17, Mr.
17.
Chairman.
That is irrelevant. I'm talking about the value when it was transferred to Noble Care. That is the declared, or that should have been the declared value at the time that it was done. Now, we have records that it was trading within a certain time period at between 43 to 73, 44 to 73 pesos. I just took an average of 60 pesos. So regardless of what it is trading at today, it could be below zero for all we care. But when the shares were transferred to Mr. Oreta's company, it was trading at an average of 60 pesos a share.
Mr. Senator, may I respond?
Yes,
Chair?
please.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
When the shares were issued by Alphaland to Mr. Oreta, Alphaland was not yet listed. So, to
When
say,
was Alphaland listed? Just give us a...
what is the exact date? The shares that were issued were from primary shares, meaning to say that they were owned by the corporation. And we were selling
No.
those shares.
You said it was not yet listed. So we will
It was not listed. That's why we valued it at the at 10
Oh.
pesos. As where
Or
all
you
of the
mean to
shares.
say they were unissued shares?
They were from unissued, yes. Primary issues.
Yes,
From-
they were not yet issued.
They were not secondary shares
All right.
that were trading on the exchange.
Yes, and that's how companies make money. Mr. Ongpin, come on, don't give us this song and dance. If I want to raise money and I own Ayala and I issue new stock, I will sell it at the market rate. I'm not going to sell it at par value. Nobody in his right mind would sell it at par value. So Ayala will sell it at 100 pesos or whatever their shares are trading at. They would be violating, if they did that, if they sold it at 10 pesos or whatever their par value is, they would be violating their fiduciary responsibility to millions of shareholders. Sabi niya, bakit advantage sa kanya? Ba't mo binibenta sa kanya at 10 pesos when if I buy in the market, I'll have to pay 100 pesos? There's no argument there. I mean, that's how companies make money. That's why they go public, because what was the par value is now given a multiple valuation.
Mr. Chair, at the time the shares were issued to Mr. Oreta, Alphaland was not yet a listed share.
Mr. Ongpin, I ask you, when were they listed? Because we have records here
PSE is
on
here,
what
sir.
it was being traded at the time that the transfer was made.
Can PSE give us factual information? When was Alphaland listed? The stock exchange?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The Alphaland actually did a backdoor at the what do you call
Would
a
you
backdoor
speak
transaction.
into the mic, please, Mr. Sikat, because we can hardly hear you. Thank you.
Good morning, Senator. Alphaland was listed via a backdoor method in 2009, November
2009.
2009, and in fact, we the board approved additional listing actually in June 23, 2010.
So they were already listed, stock exchange.
So they were listed.
You're
At least
just
by
saying the shares
2010.
were unissued. That's irrelevant. They were listed.
By 2010, they were listed, sir, and up to.
Mr. Ongpin, you're not telling us the truth. What's wrong with you? Anyway, we'd like the BIR to look into that because obviously Noble Care got X amount of shares at a cheap price when the actual value was something else, 5 or 6 times more. And Mr. Oreta, you've heard the BIR, you should have declared that and paid income, or Noble Care should have declared it and paid income, whatever it was. Now, please tell us the origins of Noble Care, Mr. Oreta.
Senator Osmena, before you proceed to another subject matter, can we allow Senator Angara to finish his
Certainly.
questioning?
Thank
Senator Angara is once again recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to pursue maybe some of yung mga natanong na. Balik tayo sa Boy Scouts. I think yung huling tanong ko sa iyo was tungkol dun sa podium, no? Yung podium, isang floor ang hawak niyo doon.
Isang floor.
Magkano ang valuation niyo doon? Kasi may valuation ang mga taga Alphaland. I'd like to know, are you relying on their valuation?
If I'm not mistaken, per the latest valuation that we got, because they're the developer po eh.
Oo nga.
Kami yung partner lamang. So,
pero
we would like to...
kasosyo nyo sila eh. So, dapat may
ang
idea
value
kayo.
po ng third floor, the entire of it, as communicated to us, is at 431 million.
Kayong gumawa ng valuation na yon?
Hindi po. Yun po yung... Kasi hiningi nga po namin sa kanila. And therefore...
Pero hindi
it is our responsibility.
You have a
as well.
responsibility to
Yes,
verify
yes.
the valuation,
Yes.
di ba?
So and
yung
we will do that.
Can you let me finish first before you
Sige po.
answer? Yung 431 million, verify nyo ba kung tama yung valuation?
Po namin bine-verify po.
Why not? Is that not your duty to verify?
Precisely, we will do that po.
So ano pang hawak nyo bukod sa kabuuan ng third floor? Ano pang masasabi niyong asset ng BSP ngayon?
Yung magiging share nga po namin doon sa 3 towers.
Which is what?
At saka yung
Kasi
share
sa ngayon,
namin.
hindi pa natin ma-picture, kumbaga eh. Ang alam lang natin, may 15% kayo. But what actually is that 15%? May narinig akong mga parking slots kanina.
Opo, 15% din po kami doon.
So bukod nga doon sa ano yung 15% na yon? Ano yon?
Ayun po yung units doon sa...
Ilan
3
units?
towers.
Ilang square meters?
I don't have the... Let me see if I have the figures here right now.
Mr. Senator, Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes, Attorney Oreta.
Can I answer
While
that-
Attorney Abisado is looking
can I
for
answer that
his
question?
notes.
On the joint venture agreement, we agreed that it's 85-15 on the gross floor area. So, on the five floors basement parking of
What does the 15%? My question is, Mr. Chair, what does the 15% being held by the BSP, what does that translate to aside from the bukod dun sa sinasabing podium third floor?
it translates to 150 parking slots.
So ang bibigay nyo parking sa kanila?
Opo, kasi
hindi nyo sila bibigyan ng condominium or
Hindi.
bakit parking? Bakit parking?
Sa parking po, kasi meron ho tayong phase 1, yung podium, yung parking muna po, 5 basement floors yan with 1,000 parking slots. Out of that, they have 15%. So they have 150 parking slots allotted to them.
No condominiums, no units.
Hindi pa po. Aakyat ngayon tayo doon sa podium, doon sa 6 floors. Doon sa 6 floors ho, ang kinuha nila is the third floor. Equivalent to around 17%, more than 15%. No? Pinayagan na namin yon, 17% po ng podium.
Okay, can we have a clear answer, Mr. Chairman, as to what actually that 15 or 17% represents?
It represents...
Can I have an enumeration? 1, it represents this. 2, it represents this. So
Opo.
1, it represents the third floor of the podium. Secondly, what does it represent?
It represents the 150 parking slots of the basement parking. And number 3, it represents 9,208 square meters in the 3 towers.
How is that divided up?
Ano ho yan eh? We are talking kasi under the agreement po, we are supposed to agree on ano ba ang kanila, ano ba ang pipiliin nila. So we have been talking. Nag-uusap po kami with their team.
When is the deadline to decide what?
Wala naman pong deadline. Kaya lang siguro they're looking at it na kung paano gagalaw yung mga towers at saka kung ano ang
Pag
benta.
nag-uusap kayo, sinong kausap mo?
Ang kausap ko po si Mr. Abisado, si
Kayong
Mr.
dalawa lang?
Hindi po. Team ho sa kanila, tsaka team din sa amin. Ang sa kanila is Mr. Abisado, si si Obet Pagdanganan, si Jun Anyag, si Rickit Lagdameo, tsaka si Max Adralin. Yun po ang team ng BSP to speak to us. Ang sa amin naman ho, I have Pongpon Ferrada, I have the engineers in our team of Alphaland.
You confirm, Mr. Oreta, since you took the floor already. You confirm that BSP, there is no restriction on BSP's rights to alienate or to rent, lease, or otherwise dispose of its interest.
Nothing, sir.
At any time whatsoever.
Nothing, sir. As a matter of fact, we are helping them.
There's nothing in the contract.
Nothing in the contract, and we're helping them rent out their third floor.
But do you charge a fee? Baka naman malaki yung
Hindi
fee
po.
na sinacharge
Wala po
nyo.
kaming sinacharge. Gratis at amore.
Okay.
Kaya
anyway,
yung-
I know you from your earlier statement, alam ko na yung valuation nyo dun sa property nyo, no, sa project. I want to get, Mr. Chairman, I want to get the BSP side as to the valuation. Because obviously, if you enter into a business deal, you want to verify the numbers provided
Maybe
by...
before you proceed with your questions, you will be interested with this paragraph from Alphaland Makati Place disclosure. Page 25. Financial Statement 2013. Notes. Yeah, the notes to the Financial Statement 2013 of Alphaland Makati Place, formerly Silvertown Property Development Corporation. Page 25. Determination of BSP share. Diba? Yeah, that was your question, huh? Based on the current planned allocation in determining the 15% share of BSP on the project, BSP a share consists of the BSP Convention Center, located at the third floor of the podium, as stated by Mr. Attorney Reta, and a portion of Tower 3 and parking spaces. Period. Prior to 2013, BSP share consists of the BSP Convention Center and a portion of Tower 1 and 2. Period. So nagbago. So, Senator Angara, so that this is probably
When did that
part
change,
of the
Mr.
information
Chairman?
you
When did that change from...
We will ask them.
Oh.
When did this change?
No, this is what happened, to tell you the story. When we first entered into the agreement, the general consensus of Boy Scouts was to have 15% of the 3 towers. And then, when we were meeting, they were thinking of converting since they chose the third floor because they wanted a contiguous property. Siguro, they were thinking of putting up the regional offices of the Boy Scouts as a convention center, and at that time, they were thinking of bidding for the World Boy Scouts headquarters, which was in Europe at that time, too expensive. So they wanted to bring it here. So at that time, they wanted to get the whole of the third floor. And then, noong nag-uusap po kami, sabi nila, it might be to their advantage if they get units in the third tower so that they can offer it as accommodation to the people who will be attending the conferences. That's the reason why there was a change to the third tower, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Angara?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Meron na ba tayong sagot sa panig ng BSP as to the valuation of your holdings?
As I've stated earlier, Your Honor, we will commission. No?
So wala pa kayong
Independent
valuation.
appraiser.
Parang tinatanggap niyo na lang kung sinasabi ng Alphaland sa inyo.
Hindi naman po. That has to be validated. No? And therefore, what we're saying is we have to go to the process
At
as
the
well.
very least, I think you owe that to your stakeholders to make sure you're getting good value, di ba?
Opo.
I think that's the thrust of
I
everybody's
totally agree with you,
questions
Your
here.
Honor.
Oo. Baka nakalimutan niyo yung relationship na yon, na you have to make sure you get the best deal. So, you have whatever values are given to you. Aminado ba kayo na may obligasyon kayo na questionin yon,
Opo.
scrutinize yon?
Opo.
Mr. Chairman, can I also
Attorney Oreta,
answer, sir? On those valuation, for example, the third floor, we're not picking, getting figures from thin air. We have valuation to support our claim. For example, the third floor is right now valued at appraised at 200,000 per square meter, and we have that appraisal. That's why these are the basis for our valuation. We're not valuing it ourselves, Mr. Chairman. We're getting independent appraisers.
Yes, but we know how these appraisers sometimes work, Mr. Oreta, Mr. Chairman. they tend to be favorable towards the one paying for the appraisal. I mean, not to question the integrity of that profession at all, Mr. Chairman. But I mean, you know, the way things work, it's just the way credit ratings work. That's why credit ratings agencies in the U.S. were fined, because they were giving favorable credit ratings to those who were asking for the favorable credit ratings. Anyway, that's an unnecessary aside, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to remind the BSP as to their obligation to their stakeholders. You must be sure when in your decision-making process, you always have that their interest at heart. Anyway, pursue ko yung point ni Senator Alan kanina. Kailangan kapos ba ng pera ang BSP?
Hindi naman
Anong
po.
state ng financials nyo ngayon?
Hindi naman po. Right now, we have over 100 million in the bank.
In cash.
Opo, in cash.
Okay. So, does that include the 7 million paid as rentals?
Opo, of late, nakasama.
So, may
po siya.
93 million kayo as of what date?
As of February 12, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Chairman. February 11, Mr. Chairman. In fact, I have the figures here. We are right now maintaining our accounts with Land Bank, Philippine National Bank, Philippine Postal Savings Bank, and Development
Okay,
Bank.
that's okay. It's okay. I don't need to know the accounts. No? Pero ang tanong, nakukuha ba yan ng Boy Scouts? Pag may jamboree, pag may lakad, maluwang ba kayo? Baka naman.
Hindi po kami kumikita sa jamboree.
Hindi, I did not say.
Hindi, kasi
there's no statement na kumikita kayo. Ang tanong ko,
hindi,
pag
kasi sinabi niyo po
nakatulong ba kayo?
Nakikita, nakukuha niyo ba yan sa mga jamboree?
Hindi, wala akong sinabing. That's not my statement.
Sige po,
Sabi ko, pag nagkaka-jamboree, nagbibigay ba kayo ng pera? For example, pag may pangangailangan ang Boy Scout, linawin ko lang, Mr. Chairman.
Meron po kaming subsidy sa host council.
Okay. So let's say in 2013, 2014, magkano ang dinisburse nyo for Boy Scout activities?
Ang usual na budget po namin sa host council is 100 per boy. Per participant. Yun ang binibigay po namin
100
na
pesos
subsidy.
per boy.
Opo.
Per day? Per day ba yon or per activity?
Hindi po. Per participant po.
Nga, pero on what basis? Kung maraming araw yon.
Hindi po.
Regardless of how long the activity
Opo,
is, 100.
Opo.
Basta 100.
Opo.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'd like to, in future hearings, I'd like to follow up on the valuations of the BSP to make sure that
Sige po.
the interests are protected going forward. No? Pero as of now, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
No. Mr. Chairman, just to
Attorney
clarify lang din po, no? I would like to take exception doon sa sinabi ni Mr. Mercado that the reason why we entered into the joint venture agreement is precisely to give 1 million each to the councils. No? In fact, previous to that, nagkaroon na po ng maraming desisyon patungkol dyan. If we sell the property, no, lamang dito ngayon, sa decision ng 2008, na siya mismo ang nagpresenta sa annual council meeting, sinabi nga niya, i-invest natin. Ibig sabihin, kung kailan mamonetize yung investment, saka magkakaroon ng distribution. No? In the meantime po kasi, siyempre, kailangan i-monetize mo na yung share namin doon sa investment. And when that happens, babalikan po namin yung decision ng council, ng National Council, na dapat mag-share talaga sa mga council. So, hindi po kami tatalikod dyan sa commitment na yan po.
Okay, Senator Osmena is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Abisado, taga Davao ka ba?
Yes, sir.
I think we've met before.
Yes, sir.
Nakasulat po rito sa listahan namin na Assistant Secretary for Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council po kayo.
That's true, Your Honor.
That's your current appointment.
Yes, sir.
And you're also Senior Vice President of the Boy Scouts of the Philippines.
Yes, sir.
Is there an intervening level between Senior Vice President and President of the Boy Scouts? Meron bang EVP?
Wala po.
Wala na. So, after you, above you, is Vice President Binay.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, sa ngayon po, ikaw ang deciding, ikaw ang nagdi-decide sa itong mga arrangements pa na medyo hindi pa na nailed down.
Hindi po.
Okay.
It's always the National Executive Board.
No, it's only subject to the approval, but you make the recommendations.
Insofar as the joint venture agreement is concerned, it's not me but the management committee.
Now, normally, when you sign a contract at nakasulat po dyan 15%, naka-itemize na kung saan kukunin yung 15%. Hindi ninyo in-itemize.
Po doon sa joint venture agreement, across the board po yun. Ibig sabihin, kung ano po yung construction, 15% po kami.
Kung ano po yung construction, you mean to say you will get 15% out of every sale?
Hindi po.
No, sir.
Doon sa gross floor area, doon sa itatayong mga buildings like the podium.
So, the Boy Scouts will take title to the units that it identifies.
Based on the agreement, because there's a
Just
management
answer yes or
team.
no.
Yes.
You will take title.
Yes.
So, pag nag-areglo kayo ng developer na I'll take 2 units on floor number 10, 2 units on floor number 14, nakasulat na yon.
Yes.
Do you have that list?
Wala pa po.
No, but normally you do that when you approve the plans and sign the contract. Kung hindi, malulugi kayo.
Hindi po, it's in the, it's in the joint venture agreement that the two groups will have to agree on the method of selection of the share.
That is a weakness in your arrangement. Because normally, in the joint venture agreement, nakasulat na kung anong units pupunta sa landowner. So here you have left the Boy Scouts open to being shortchanged.
I respect your...
Kung ang binigay sa iyo, well, you want 15%, I'll give you 15% of the third, fourth, and fifth floors, for example. Pagkatapos, mas mataas po yung price per square meter sa upper floor. Siyempre, yung mga penthouse, matataas yun.
Opo. We are conscious of that, Your Honor. That's why we keep
You're
on
conscious, but you haven't
meeting with them.
nailed it down. They're already about to finish, and you still haven't nailed down what units come to you.
We will push for that.
You will push for it.
Yes, because the
Mr.
building is
Oreta.
going to be finished by December.
Yes, sir.
These are normally laid down even when the contract signing is done. Why is there such a delay?
No, the delay is not. What we agreed upon was that we were going to meet. Kasi at that time, sir, hindi nila alam kung anong kukunin nila. It was a moving target. So ang ginawa namin, we agreed that we were going to form a committee so that we would meet.
Yeah, that's
that
already
committee.
2 years. How long has your construction been going on? 2 years na yan, di ba?
Mga 2 years na.
Yeah.
Pero we've been meeting eh.
You've
We've been meeting with the
but for
committee.
goodness sake, this is something that you can finish in 1 week to 2 weeks.
Hindi ho, kasi tinitingnan nila. Kasi nagkakaroon ho ng
Anong
changes
titignan nila? May floor plan. There's so many units per floor. I want 1 unit on every floor.
No, but it's not.
Ano pa titignan dyan?
No, it's not cast in stone. For example, at that time, we were discussing whether we would convert the third floor into a
Never
hotel
mind the
or
third
whatever.
floor. That's a
No,
very
not the
small
third
part.
floor. The third tower into a hotel so that we can get a recurring income for that. So it was
Therefore, they'll never get the cash because your third floor will not. Your third tower is not for sale.
no, that's out of the. We are going to sell it now. We've decided that we are going to sell the third floor. We're going to convert it into condominiums, and we are going to sell it.
You will sell the third tower.
The third tower.
Okay. All right, but up to now
So-
they haven't decided.
No, we
why
have-
will the Boy Scouts be only given units in the third tower?
No, they will not be given. At that time, when we reported to the SEC, their direction was to have contiguous units because they wanted to offer it as accommodation to their the conference attendees. Because they were supposed, Mr. Senator, Mr. Chairman, they were supposed to have a convention center on the third floor, including the offices of
Wait a
the
minute.
regional.
Your original plan for the third tower was to rent it out.
Wait, third floor po pinag-usapan natin.
No, I'm talking about the third tower.
Yes.
Was to have it rented out so that the company would enjoy recurring income.
Yes.
All right. So therefore, you are going to have what? Big units there or small units? Hotel style or
No, not hotel style. Apartment type.
So if they were apartment style, then you would be leasing this out for a substantial number of months, not on a
Maybe
week-to-week
long term,
basis.
long stay. Yes.
2 years, 3 years, ganon. Yung regular sa...
If we can rent it out, yes.
All right. So how can they use it as a hotel?
Because they can be allotted several.
You mean they'll keep it vacant the whole time?
No, 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 no. They will have their own people coming in and out. So if they choose certain,
Wait, do you have a convention on a weekly basis?
I don't know. I was talking to them
is it
because
like
they have.
once a year or
No, it's not only the convention, sir. It's also the visiting Boy Scouts from all over the delegations. I think that's what they were telling me. I'm not privy to what they're doing.
the Boy Scouts would maintain apartments and keep them also vacant when they're not used, just for visiting Boy Scout officials from all over the country.
That's what they were thinking of before.
Mr. Abisado?
15 pesos 50 centavos, not nowhere near 60. I wish they were, but they were not.
All
Now,
right.
today we are not listed. And we have just released our audited financial statements. The net book value per share of Alphaland is 24.60, 24 pesos 60. And at the time that those shares were issued by the corporation to Mr. Oreta, there were many transactions that were undertaken by Alphaland at 10 pesos.
Allow me to interrupt you, Mr. Ongpin, because I just asked a simple question. Now, you're saying that the value today is 24 pesos. When you were last traded, it was 16 pesos. That is not
17, Mr.
17.
Chairman.
That is irrelevant. I'm talking about...
Sell.
Yes, Mr.
The Meralco
Oreta, you're
shares.
wrong, and I think you know you're wrong. But anyway, we'll let the BIR take care of that particular problem. But in any case, I have another question related to that. When Alphaland issued shares at 10 pesos a share while it was trading at 60 pesos, would that not be a violation of its fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders? Mr. Ongpin, perhaps
I'm
you
not
can
gonna-
respond.
No, Mr. Senator, it would not be. In fact, the numbers that being bandied around here are simply incorrect. Those trading values were several years ago. At the time that we were suspended for trading, Alphaland shares were, as a matter of fact, trading at 70.
Noble Care, was it? To Noble Care. So, hindi pwede sabihin ng Noble Care, ay, hindi ko pa binibenta eh. In other words, Noble Care should have reported the 534 million, gawin na natin 500 million as income
Yes, Your Honor.
and
They-
pay
they
the taxes
Yes,
thereon
they should
in
have
that year.
declared
Diba?
that already. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Oreta, earlier I heard you argue that you had not yet sold the shares
Yes, sir.
and that you do not owe income thereon.
Yes, sir.
Suppose I gave you 100,000 shares of Meralco. How much is Meralco today? 270. Or 1 million shares of Meralco worth 270 million pesos because you did a service for me. Can you now claim that you don't have to declare that as income until you sell the Meralco shares?
To my mind, unless I
Thank you
Senator
for your
Angara,
patience,
Senator
Mr. Chair.
Osmena. And then
Yes.
we
Just
will
to
allow
clarify.
Senator Angara to finish his questioning. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sunny. Just to get things clear, we have a representative here from the BIR, no? All right. So, get the rules straight. Halimbawa po, nakatanggap ako ng bayad, pero in kind, hindi in cash. At binigyan po ako ng Rolex watch. do I have to declare that as income?
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Any income that
No, just answer yes or no.
Yes,
Do I-
yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Halimbawa po, binigyan po ako ng lupa in return for a service that I extended. Do I have to declare the land as income?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hindi po ako pwede mag-antay na hindi ko pa binebenta yung lupa eh. Di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that must be valued at the time that the transfer was made, and I have to declare that regardless of whether if it was cash or not. I'll have to find the money to pay the taxes, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ngayon po dito sa pagbili ng shares ni Mr. Oreta, 8.9 million more or less shares. It was transferred to Mr. Oreta at 10 pesos. But the transfer price is irrelevant, di ba? Because the shares were trading at an average between 44 to 73 pesos per share in the stock exchange.
Yes, Your Honors.
Halimbawa, 60 pesos lang. That brings us to a value of 534 million pesos. That was the value of the shares that were transferred to Noble